Y'all check out this grass. I haven't cut it almost 2 weeks, and man, I got some work to do. Been on vacation, been down in Florida, and one of the things that I was listening to down there is there's no property taxes, just like they're trying to do here in Texas. This is going to be the largest tax increase in your state's history. I don't care where you're from. And it's gonna hit you. And this is just what they do. They throw a rock and hide their hands. It's a hidden tax. And you can't see it. And this is what government, politician, wealthy people do. They know that people can't see the bottom line. They know that you can't see it. So they hide everything there. So let's get into it. Listen, first of all, these things that you can go and Google yourself or go and research yourself. There are no states in the United States that offer zero property tax and zero state tax. They don't exist. It can't happen because who's going to pay for all these roads? When we drove all the way from Texas, I drove all the way from Texas to Miami on that right there, concrete. That shit got to get paid for. Utilities, water, police, school, it's got to get paid for. And it's paid for through taxes, period. So people thinking that no property tax, when that's implemented, that they're not gonna replace it with something else. And they are. Don't be stupid. They want you to think that. And the parties that are in control, they know how gullible and I'm gonna say stupid voters are. So it makes it seem like they're doing you a favor. Oh wow, we want to try to keep them in office because they're offering no tax. Of course, they want to do this, but you don't understand how it's going to affect you. So I already established that there's no states out there that offer no income tax and no property tax. There are no states out there, and there's never going to be one because this stuff got to get paid for. And a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be through increased sales tax or something like that. But whatever the case may be, let me show you how this is going to be an increase. You know how people who own homes and they let you file for your homestead exemption. Now this is going to be one example now. You got a homestead exemption. That means you get a part of your taxes is reduced because it's your homestead, so you pay a lower tax than someone who doesn't have a homestead exemption, like somebody who has a rent house. They're gonna pay more taxes on a rent house than you do because they can't get the homestead exemption. And these exemptions, a whole lot of exemptions that you can have in your house. You got the homestead exemption, you got over 65 exemption, you got disability exemptions, you got veteran exemptions. You got, and some of these can be stacked. They have some exemptions out there that will make your property tax $0. Zero. So if they get rid of no property taxes, they get rid of property taxes, that means that you got zero. You don't need the exemption for property taxes if there's no property tax. Same with the veterans, same with the disabled, whatever, and so on. You don't need none of those benefits anymore because there's no property tax. But when they replace the property taxes with something else, you're not going to get no exemption on that. That means your exemption is gone. So now If they were to get the rest of the money from, let's just say they get a sales tax. Let's say they just use a sales tax, one of the ways they're going to get the money back. Well, you're not going to get no homestead exemption off your sales tax. You're going to pay the taxes. You're not going to get the veterans that pay zero taxes on their property. They're not going to get the exemption from sales tax. You're not going to get any of those. So you're literally going to be paying more in taxes if they got rid of it and replaced it than you would if you just, they just kept it. Because you're not gonna get an exemption off of your sales tax or whatever tax. So that means your tax bill is going up. And that's for everybody. They're not giving you no homestead exemption tax, exemption on sales tax. You're gonna be paying. So that's an increase. Your taxes is going to increase because you're not going to get none of those exemptions. So that's one of the biggest deals that's going to be with this no property tax. And then they're not offering a solution. And another thing with the property tax is this: the state income tax is something totally different from local. So they may say, hey, no state income tax on property. Yeah, but that's a small amount. But what about your city, local city and school and all of that? What does that do? So that's if they stop the state income tax, you still got the property taxes for the cities. And I know in the government has filed some type of law. They put something in law where local governments can't file taxes or charge taxes or something like that. Something like that. They're doing it. They've been planning this for a while, so they've already put other laws in place because they know what's going to happen. So that's another thing that we have to worry about. State income tax and city income tax is different. So we don't know what it's going to be, and they're not giving us what the replacement is going to be on purpose. So you can go and vote on it, but you don't know what the replacement is going to be. Everybody's going to be happy. Oh, no income tax. Oh, no taxes on my property. That's fine. But they're not going to tell you what the replacement is. So you don't have everything. And then they got all kinds of little things. They're saying, well, we're just going to do it for property owners that live in the house. If you own a rent home or anything like that, you still got to pay and all that. Well, that's fine too, but trust me, when they implement this and the taxes go up, especially if it's a taxes on goods and services. If I was a contractor and I'm doing work, I know I do be doing everything to the house, and if I have to pay 10% increase on my products, or they charge a tax on the services like I get tax on my services 10%, however they decide to do it. Well, how am I gonna make that up? How am I gonna make that 10% up? I'm gonna charge more. I'm gonna charge more so that the taxes is taken care of through my fees. I'm not gonna sit up here and take that hit. Why would I take that hit? Why would anybody take that hit? And so what's gonna happen is these renters, apartment people and all that, they're gonna have to pay these increased services. And guess what happens? They're gonna do the same thing. They're going to increase their rent to accommodate that. So your rent is going up. So now you got increased rent and you're paying more taxes. Huge increase. So I don't know. This might be or is going to be the highest tax increase in history.